Is it muted anywhere? Is there a mute thing? No.
You're not
We
muted.
can still hear you so far.
I can hear you. You want to be muted?
No,
Okay.
I don't want to be muted.
Okay, so we are recording now, so I guess it's up to you guys if you want to start without Tim and get some of the initial stuff out of the way, or do you want to wait a minute?
I can go crawling. Where did I do that?
Okay. Oh, there he is.
Yep, he's here, David.
No?
He's here.
Oh, Dave, we just needed Dave to stand up.
That's right.
Dave took action and Tim responded. Very nice.
I was caught on a work call that usually it doesn't run long like that, and this group got chatty at the end. So
Well, welcome everybody. If we're ready to roll, we'll start our April tree board meeting. Roll call shows that we have all the current members present. So Dave and Pat Thompson, Jessica Leahy, Cindy Blees, and Tim White. Were there any, everyone have a chance to take a look at the agenda for tonight?
Yep.
Any additions or comments about it? Are we ready to?
I
Rock
thought
and
it looked
roll.
really good. I thought it was very good.
I just want to double check that I'm squared away on how the May meeting is going to run with the students coming, and that could be maybe the monthly tree board activity. It doesn't need to be its own agenda
Yeah.
item, but I do want to make sure we are all set on that before we sign off.
Okay, well, I was gonna catch up with that when we talk about our next meeting, so that's on my list. All right, first item on the agenda is approval of the March minutes.
motion to approve March minutes as presented.
Second,
Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Does that work, Sophie? Okay, I'm gonna call that 5 in the affirmative. Thank you. Next, we have tree evaluations. We don't have any this month, but I know of 2 that we will have for the coming month. So I'll get that information out to you. I thought it would be appropriate to wait until we had the full membership put together before we did our first round of evaluations of the spring. So, and those 2 evaluations just came in, so they're not things that have been pending for a while anyway. So that would be something that we would discuss as part of the business section of our May meeting. I don't have anything. Does anyone have any questions for me on any tree warden stuff?
I can't remember when I joined, but is this typical of the rhythm where like there's not a ton of evaluations in the spring, probably because they all fell down in the fall and winter, and then you're focused on winter snow removal and things like that?
Yeah, it's typically relatively quiet over the winter months, and then spring, excuse me, as people start getting back out into the yards and see how the winter treated their yard, they'll typically be in touch. May and June, July are pretty busy months usually for evaluations, relatively speaking, and then depending on what we get for special weather events, we might, see a spike in late in the fall, October, November, but then usually over the winter months, it gets pretty quiet. So yes, it's pretty typical to have a quiet winter. Okay. We'll move on if we're ready. So the next item on the agenda is the review of the vegetation ordinance.
I think it looks great. I want to thank you for the work that you put into it, Rob, and I'm sure you had a cast of thousands behind you supporting you in drafting
Yeah.
it, but it looks really, really good. I've got very minor questions / comments on things, to just minor tweaks, improvements, no substantive changes.
I have one that might be considered substantial, but I don't know if we want to work chronologically through the sections with Tim's edits, or what you'd like for process.
I think we can kind of look at the whole thing. If I can go through the changes, the big changes that I made, or we can just ask questions. It's really up to you guys.
I suggest just reading down through it, and when we get to the different sections, mine are right up front, and then I think and again they're tiny. In the definition section, I'm used to seeing if it's a defined term that it's capitalized. So drip line, the second word, yeah, would be capitalized. So L in line, property owner. The other is tree warden.
Yep.
And public trees, and then highway. And I know it seems silly, but in contractual terms, if it's capitalized, then it's got the specific definition of what was used in. So that was it for that. And then the other question I had is way down at the bottom.
Mine's down at the bottom too. I do think tree warden is a proper noun. It's like a
Yeah.
title. So I think throughout it would be capitalized if it's not.
And since it's you, I mean, shouldn't it be his lordship, tree warden?
Yeah, I don't know how that one slipped by me. I think I caught a bunch of them, but I will say grammar caps, Oxford commas, all that stuff will come out when we get to just like the numbering of the sections. I didn't mess with that because Nancy will put it through the process and tidy all that stuff up before it goes to the council for review. So,
Oh, very cool. The only other thing that I had a question on is in section 38-34 under notice. It talks about the health officer, and I would presume that should be tree warden in both instances. It's at the
no,
bottom of-
actually, the way the authority would work is that the health, perhaps Sophia, you could jump in on this because we had this conversation, and the authority of the health officer is what would be in play in that situation.
So then we would need to, I would suggest we would want to add the definition of who the health officer is in the definitions, because it's a new term that's used very late in the document, and we've used tree warden throughout. So I was just presuming that it was lifted.
So-
go ahead, Sophie.
I was gonna say, you are welcome to add whatever language here you wish, Tim. You are the god of the vegetation ordinance. So I would suggest, though, that a public health officer is heavily defined in other areas of the statute, in other areas of the code of ordinances, and it's a statutory position. So capital P, capital O on there is going to drive people to statute. But if you want a definition, we could just put a definition, Rob, that would appointed official as per MSRA. And then if you leave it blank, I'll fill in the statutory reference for you.
And then
Yeah,
that would get a cross-reference.
Yeah.
reference.
Yep,
And
it would.
Yeah. And even if we just said health officer is defined, in MSRA, blah, blah.
Yep.
Because that was just the first time that it was used, and I was reading through, and
Yeah, that's fair.
that's it. Like I say, I thought it was well done.
So I was back at 38-32, and I guess I'm a little uncomfortable with giving the tree warden permission to enter onto private land. And so I would prefer with permission, but I could also maybe go with with some sort of notice. It is uncomfortable to me.
So Sophie, does that authority come with section 34? So that those get tied together? The notice section or no?
The way the notice section is that after you've come onto private property and taken a sample from a tree, if you find it to be infected, then you notice your proposed action to the landowner, but there's no heads up that you're going to be on the property doing the original inspection.
So would you propose a notification period, like a? and
Well,
what's
is
a
there any, are there any other examples in the ordinance, like a code enforcement officer? Can they come anytime and walk around the property, or is it just, do they have to give 24 hours notice, or do they have to have permission?
Yeah, so a code officer can knock on a door anytime. They can ask for entrance anytime. A tenant can give them the authority to come in, so somebody living on the property. But we can't just elbow our way in. We would have to go to court and get an administrative warrant. So, I mean, I think the idea would be that maybe the warden would seek permission prior to, but understand if we thought we had a public health risk, it would go to the public health officer, and his powers are quite a bit larger than a code officer or a public works director, but he's working in concert with the state or CDC. So I think if you just say with notice, and I probably wouldn't bound it with how much time
Okay,
or permission, one of the two.
I like that. I think many people would be game for it, but I just, I don't know. I grew up in
yeah, that's
Alaska.
a good point. Absolutely right. Yeah.
Tim knows what I mean.
Okay.
Really give the polar bears like notice before you go out.
56.
Yeah,
Did
just the
anybody
whole-
else?
I'll tell you later, Tim.
Any other comments
Yeah,
from the board?
yeah, go ahead.
No, just really nice job, and I really like this rearrangement. It is sometimes really hard to take a, like an artifact document and be able to think freshly about the right order of it, and this is a really nice flow. So thanks for putting the time into it.
I have one comment.
Yep.
If you look at, it's section 8, 3856 landscaping.
Yep.
All right, just above it is, I don't know, my pages got mixed up, so there's a list of two tree warden in consultation with the chairperson of the tree board may issue a permit to cut down, removal, destroy public trees under one or more of the following circumstances. If tree is diseased, public tree is located in an area where it's structurally of improvements. I was gonna, someplace in here, we need to be able to go in and cut down invasive species like Norway maple. On a public tree being a Norway maple. There are times when that's an invasive species and it's very invasive.
So
we
you
do
would-
that, or we need to put that in here.
That would be something where the tree warden wouldn't, I don't think the board would give the tree warden carte blanche, go cut down all the Norway maples in Orono. It would be more of that would be a tree board effort that would be, you could give direction to the tree warden. I think you already have that authority, Dave, as part of this. If that became a priority for the tree board, we would work through a policy on how to do that, to eliminate that invasive species. And so I think we already have that authority. And it's not something I don't think we would do as an emergency measure. You see the
I-
difference?
I would ask Rob where that authority is vested with us in here. There's, the word invasive is not in here.
Well, you have authority to cut down any public tree given proper, with a good reason. And so if a significant issue with invasive species came along, or we could probably bring up parts of Article 3 as well. I don't know if that needs to be, if you guys feel like it needs to be specifically called out.
Well, I think, Rob, your point is
think
good,
I
though. This
tried-
is, this is in the permits required section, and it's saying you're exempt if it's if it is one
Yeah.
of these emergency situations. I think what's confusing is that lead-in sentence about it's the intent of this article to preserve public trees. I mean, that's unrelated to an emergency situation. But I think it's there because you're just trying to tell people, like, you're not going to use your emergency
Right.
powers willy-nilly, but maybe there's another place though where we can talk about invasive trees, because it is
think-
one of the recognized invasives.
And I guess the way my mind would work is the appropriate place for that would probably be within our management plan. So as we develop the policies, I can see a pretty big section about invasives being in there, and strategies and plans for managing those species would live in the urban forestry management plan, I think.
So would a call out in Article 3 specific to, just to say something about invasives?
Think,
Or leave it out here, and as you say, address it more specifically in the management plan?
I envision it as a larger discussion in the management plan rather than something specific in the ordinance. At least that's how
Yeah,
I
I
would-
can understand that.
We could sneak it in this sentence. There's Article 3 and then 38-31 statement of policy. And you could just in that first sentence,
Yeah,
it could be to promote forest health, manage and mitigate the risks associated with all types of pest, diseases, and invasive plants that affect the overall health of public vegetation.
yeah.
Because if you are going to do I mean, you could have a tree management plan. Also wouldn't hurt to have an invasive plant plan that is going to
Sure.
deal with things more than the trees. So Norway's the invasive tree, but then there's the honeysuckle and knotweed and all the other buckthorn, things like that. That might be good to think about.
How does that sound, Dave?
Fine.
If I add invasive plants to the statement of policy at the beginning of Article 3?
Yep.
Okay. I can do that. Anything else? So just procedurally, this will go to a committee meeting in the next few weeks, and we'll be on we're going to notice a public hearing for the ordinance change for the May meeting, so May 10th. May 10th will be the public hearing, and council will have the option to approve the ordinance change based on the input they received through the public hearing. They could approve it that night, or they could put it back to committee for more discussion at that point. So great work, everybody.
Thank you.
That's funny because you did most of the work, but yeah.
I just tried to get everybody's thoughts in one document. I think it came out pretty well. All right, well, great. Thanks, everyone. Open positions. So as, excuse me, as I mentioned, Matt Ewing has chosen not to pursue another term, so I wasn't sure if he was going to be here tonight or not, but his term expired this month, so you have two openings on two openings for voting members of the committee of the board, and then you also have, based on your plans for adding what we call, I got to pull out the ordinance now, what we call associate members, which are essentially full membership. They enjoy the full benefits of tree board membership. The only difference for an associate is that they only would vote in the absence of a full of a voting member of the board, if that makes sense. But they would still be, they would receive all the same information, background information, agendas, all the things that I would normally send out to you so that they can be prepared to vote should they need to at the meeting. They would be involved with the evaluation process. The only thing that would happen is if the full board were there, all 7 members were present, the associates wouldn't be voting that night. That would be the only difference. So you have 2 openings for the board and two openings for the associate. And you happen to have 4 applications in front of you. Did everybody get a chance to take a look at those?
Yes,
I did.
I think we have 4 very good candidates.
That's right.
I think you have 4 excellent candidates. And so this is where I'm going to kind of allow you guys to have this discussion. This is really, these recommendations to town council are your recommendations. I will support whatever you guys end up with, because like I said, I think you've got 4 super candidates here. And so we just need to decide who you'd like to recommend for the 2 board members and the 2 associates.
I wanted to say that I'm sorry that Matt is not going to be on the board anymore. He was a great person to work with.
Yes.
Oh,
And
yeah.
thank him for his service. It was
Right.
much appreciated.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and we'll send out a note of thanks to him from the town as well.
So do we want to consider individuals make a nomination, a second for either an associate or full position? Do we want to review them and discuss anything?
Well, I guess I would really like to nominate Jennifer Dan for one of the full positions, in part because of the past experience with a state urban forestry program and being a ISA certified arborist. I think that is unique from all the other 3 applicants, and we would really benefit from that. I also like the thought of welcoming someone new from our community that wants to engage, and also knowing that we have these other opportunities for the other 3 to also engage. I guess I'd like to start there with that nomination.
I second that nomination. So can we call for a vote for Jennifer Dan as one of the 2 full board members?
I call for the vote.
So let me do a roll call. That makes sense?
Yes, please.
All right. Jessica,
In favor.
Cindy,
I'm in favor.
Tim,
In favor.
Pat,
In favor.
Dave,
I'm also in favor. I wouldn't want to go against what my wife said.
smart man. That would be unanimous.
I'd be in trouble.
All right, super. And I guess it would make sense to talk about the next board opening.
I would like to nominate Teresa Trandafilu as the second full board member based on her forestry experience and her application. I think she would be an excellent member. I know her as a resident. I also know Ken Ferguson is a resident and Jason is a resident, and they're all three are excellent folks, and all of them will work very strongly for the town. I'd like to give Teresa the opportunity to work with us on the board.
I will second that. I appreciated the nice letter that went along with the application, and certainly seems well qualified with the forest biology undergraduate degree, and it just the tailored sharing in the letter of things that she had noticed about our public trees. I thought it was well done.
Right.
So if there's no more discussion, I call the roll. Jessica,
In favor.
Cindy,
In favor.
Tim,
In favor.
Pat,
Favor.
Dave,
Ditto.
that is unanimous to recommend Teresa for full membership.
I'd like to nominate Ken Ferguson and Jason Clark as associate members for the tree board.
Second. I don't know Jason, but I did review the application and I appreciated his interest, and Kenny as well. I know him, and as a licensed forester, it'll be great to have that him in an alternate position, able to fill in and make sure we still have that knowledge.
And associates will still be able to weigh in and give opinions on tree evaluation and things like that. So it will be great to have a broad breadth of knowledge there for us to reach out to. So I'm excited about this.
Hearing no further discussion, I call the vote. I'm gonna go backwards this time. Dave,
In favor?
Pat,
In favor.
Tim,
In favor.
Cindy,
In favor.
Jessica,
I'm in favor. I just was struggling to find the mute.
I just wanted to note that Dave made up his own mind that time.
All right, super. So we will be taking those recommendations to the council at the meeting on Monday, April 12th, and pending their approval, I'll reach out to the new members and get them started on everything. So thanks, everybody. So I guess given that, we'll move on. We'd be at our tree board activity update. Last month we talked about maybe reaching out to Asa Adams. How's that going?
Yeah, I didn't talk with, but I sent a message to Patrick Allen, a fifth grade teacher, for our Arbor Day proclamation date and potentially being able to meet with them. He had to talk with his principal. So I haven't heard back from him, but I contacted Jan Santier, and Arbor Week is in Maine is, oh shoot, I wrote it down somewhere. I think it's the 16th through the 22nd or something of May. Ordinarily, we meet with the fifth graders on that Thursday, which would be the 20th. So Patrick was agreeable to that. And I just wanted to make sure if everyone here was in agreement with that date too. We may or may not be able to meet with the students. So if we cannot, I think Nancy would send the proclamation over to Patrick and then he could take care of that in his class. If we can, we won't know for a little while, maybe whether or not we can. So
Will you say the date again, and is there a specific time?
well, ordinarily when we meet with them, it is just before school ends and it's somewhere around 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And we're up on the hill at the garden between the high school and the elementary school. And we have our banners there and that sort of thing and some tarps, and the kids come up and we talk with them about invasive plants, and we read the proclamation, and they get to do maybe a little work in the garden, whether it's raking or whether we go and look at invasives. We might go and look at our ash tree and see what kind of shape that's in. So it depends on how many children. There probably won't be that many because we'd have to break it into smaller groups if we can even do it. We sometimes have 2 different groups come up. And it takes 15 to 20 minutes in the afternoon. It's just before they get their bell to be ready to leave class. So that's the time of day that it would be. Usually that works out. He and I did not discuss that because it's so tentative at this point. So I don't know if you have any opinions on whether that's an A-OK date. I mean, even if we change the date, it's okay. I can let Nancy know definitely what day it's going to be, and they can put that in the proclamation. And if we have to fudge that a little bit, if it ends up being Wednesday or Friday that week or whatever, or another day, that's still okay. We have the proclamation dated and signed by the town councilors and Sophie. So do you have any problem with that time of day, Jessica?
What date? I'll double check my calendar.
On the 20th
Of May.
of May.
And I just blocked mine, so.
Yep, I do have a conflict. I'm at the Invasive Plant Academy that day.
Oh.
But that's going to benefit the tree board too. Plus it sounds cool, right? It's like Space Academy, but with invasive plants.
Right. So,
However, I
mean,
could, there
we
is a
might be able
chance.
to we might be able to just set it for Wednesday. I don't know that it's really a problem for Patrick. I can check with him. Maybe Wednesday or Friday. We will not be having the state get together. Jan said that's impossible, but some people had requested doing a Zoom meeting. So if we did that, I don't know when that would be. Usually we meet with the state the Tuesday of Arbor Week. We meet in another community or whatever. But I don't know how she'd set that date. So Tuesday might be the day that she would have the Zoom meeting. I can check and see if she has any. She didn't seem to have anything set yet. So I could check with Patrick if we possibly could would Wednesday or Friday that week work?
Friday would be preferable if possible, please.
Yeah, I
Friday?
think Friday. Yeah, Wednesday is the first day of the Invasive Plant Academy. See, I'm trying to say it normally instead of Invasive Plant Academy.
Well, that would be great though, if you had that information, if you could come, if we can actually meet with them. So I'll check with them and see if Friday would be an okay day.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay,
Each one, yes.
all right. Thank you.
Right, anything else cooking?
Jessica, you you had talked about the students coming for the May meeting and that it might be, this might be the time to discuss it.
Yeah. So I think what we decided, correct me if I'm wrong, they're going to kick off the meeting. And that way their families can watch on Facebook Live or join as attendees in the Zoom link, and then they can head out, and then we'll have our regular meeting.
That works
Sounds
fine with
good.
us.
Okay.
And we'll have 4 new members, so I don't know if we'll want to do some kind of introductions as well, have the students come in, and then again, the agenda will be a little bit different, and also it might run a little bit longer than just from 5 to 6. So
Jessica, how long did you anticipate the presentation from the students to be?
I get to kind of set that. I would I think 10 to 15 is good. I think for the undergraduate, 10 minutes is will be good and match what she'd have to do if she were in the class. Probably 15 for the master's student who's got, a large report that she's drafted up and stuff. So that would be 10 and then 15, and then I'd probably budget 45 minutes with the questions and answers, hopefully. So say one student presents for 10 and then 5 Q&A, and then 15 minutes for the big plan, and then 15 for Q&A. No, yeah, that adds up. That's 45 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that should be fine. We can keep the business side of things relatively light that night. I'll have 2 evaluations for sure that I know we need to talk about after the students do the presentation. You'll need to elect officers that night. And then probably we'll need to discuss plans for the Arbor Day week. And that's basically it. So, if that took another half hour or so, depending on how much back and forth there is on the officers, I know you guys are very competitive, so.
you're gonna say, I thought I saw campaign signs up in Jessica's front yard, so.
I see, yeah. So, and then we'll, make plans to, in June, kick off our next endeavor, which is up to you, but I think
Well,
we talking about getting the management plan kicked off.
yeah, that's what I was thinking, is that would be the next piece. Is there in existence a document of the current plan or a proposed template for it so that we can start?
There is, and actually, I think one of the, I think I actually have a scanned copy of that, thanks to
Ooh.
the EAB students. So I think we're going to get some bigger benefits out of that. But I'll start a new folder in our shared file, in our shared drive, for that information.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn, but I wanted to thank Sophie for helping me get on this thing again tonight. Couldn't manage this without Sophie.
Happy to, and I will I will just see the wave as you leave as confirmation of your vote.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good
That or
night.
I'm
Thank
bidding
you.
at an
Thank
auction.
you.
See you. Bye.
Jack.
Bye. I don't know.